This podcast is designed to teach the advanced skill of dip turning a kayak. Dip turning a kayak is a skill which is used within the competitive disciplines of canoe polo and canoe slalom. So let's see how it's done then.
Okay, so as you see, I'm now in my paddling kit ready to go. So we're just going to have a really quick look at some of the kit we're going to need to take with us. Obviously we're going to need a kayak. For doing the dip turns, it's really important that the back of the kayak is really low volume so that it can cut through the water. So as you can see here on this boat, it's quite narrow and flat. So that's good. We're going to need a paddle obviously, because you can't go kayaking without a paddle really. Want to check it's about the right height. It's just above my head with my arm at roughly a right angle. So that's a pretty good fit. As you can obviously see, I've already got on my buoyancy aid to help me float if I do end up in the water. And I've got a spray deck to stop all the water getting in my boat and swamping. That's really important for when we're doing the dip turn, because a lot of this area of the cockpit is going to be underwater for a lot of the time. So then, if we're playing polo, you might want to have a helmet on. If there's lots of other people on the water, this is quite a heavy contact sport, so you can use a face guard to protect our face. If you're doing this for slalom, you wouldn't want this face guard on, especially on moving water, just in case you got caught on rocks. But today, whilst I'm practicing on the lake, because I'm going to be on my own for most of it, I'm not going to wear a helmet for a lot of the time. So today I'm feeling quite warm, so all I've got on is I've got 3 base layers on and some small shorts right here. That's all the kit we need to know about. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a really quick warm up on the side just to get my heart rate up so that I'm ready to exercise, and then I'm going to go and get on the water. Okay, so I've got in the boat now. I've just been for a quick jog round just to get my heart rate raised. But what I like to do when I get in a kayak is to do a more specific warm-up just the kayak. So I'm going to go for a gentle paddle round, make sure I'm working all the muscle groups that I'm going to actually be using when I'm doing my skills today. So I'll just go for a quick paddle. Okay, brilliant. So I'm feeling a little warmed up now, not feeling achy in any way when I paddle, which is brilliant. So I'm all ready to go. So the stern dip then. What's really important with this skill is that we're going to start it and initiate it with first a forward sweep stroke, and then as we're going through the skill, we're going to be doing a backward sweep stroke. So what I'm going to suggest is, if you're not quite completely happy with sweep strokes and you're not sure on the technical way to do it, I'm going to suggest you look at some more podcasts on YouTube, maybe some different video clips, and make sure you're happy with that. So if you want to go and look at that, pause this video now and come back in a minute. Okay, so hopefully now everyone's familiar with a sweep stroke, both forwards and backwards. So the first thing I'm going to do in the stroke, as mentioned, we're going to be paddling along, and depending on which way I want to turn, I'm going to put a sweep stroke in. So if I want to turn left, I'm going to put my paddle in on the right, roughly where this tape is, to show me that I'm reaching forwards past that line. I'm going to do a full sweep stroke all the way around, and once my paddle reaches the back, I'm then going to switch and do a backward sweep stroke on the other side. So starting from the forward sweep stroke, okay, so that's the main basis of the stroke. Then what we have to do to make the tail of the boat dip under the water is put some edge on and lean our body weight back. We're going to go through the 3 B's of paddling. We're going to look at our body, we're going to look at our boat, and then we're going to look at our blade. So, as I've already mentioned with the body, we want to lean back slightly. We're going to put a slight tilt on the boat, and most importantly, as we get halfway through the stroke, as the boat starts to lift up at the front, you want to lift your legs and pull the boat over in front. Okay, so this time I'm just focusing on my body. I know I need to do my 2 sweep strokes, but I'm going to put all my focus on my body. So I let my body back, I twisted as I went, and I made sure I was pulling my legs over to make sure the nose of the boat comes over in the air. Okay, so secondly, we're going to be thinking about the boat. Now, when we're thinking about the boat in this, you want to be thinking about how the boat's moving through the water, and maybe what effects the water is having on the boat. So the reason this turn works so well is because you cut the back end under, and then the boat, because it's got air in it, tries to resurface again. And that's what helps you turn really quickly on the spot. When we're doing the turn this time, thinking about the boat, we're going to be thinking about putting that edge on and cutting the boat under, and then thinking about letting the boat come back up afterwards, slicing to the surface. And I let the boat slice back up to the surface after I'd finished. Okay, and the third beat to think about is the blade of the paddle. So as you can see, I've put 2 lines of tape on my boat. I'm going to use these for when I'm doing my sweep strokes to get the stroke started. So as I'm doing my first sweep stroke, my forward sweep stroke, I'm going to be reaching in front of the line so that I'm getting as much reach as possible. Then after I've done that sweep stroke, I'm going to switch onto this side for my backward sweep stroke. I'm going to make sure that the blade goes past that line again, so that I can then begin backward sweep stroke. What I think about with my blade is as I come out of this stroke, the dip turn this time, I'm going to have my paddle ready to get in that first power stroke and keep the boat moving and changing direction. Okay, so hopefully now you can understand the stroke on a sort of basic level. What's really important is just to get out and practice it lots and lots and lots. At first it feels really unstable and a little bit unnatural, because when you learn to turn and when you learn to do a sweep stroke, you lean into the bend, whereas this time you're having to lean out. What I find really useful though is to do lots of practice that's relevant to what you're doing. So if you're learning this dip turn for a slalom competition or training, then you might want to do some slalom style practice. What I've set up here, really simply, just using a rope across the lake and using some car straps, is two things that I can use like slalom poles to practice. And all I'm going to do is make sure that I'm practicing on both sides, going in and out of them. So I can keep that practice going for a long time and try and make sure I keep my accuracy levels really high. Okay, so that last drill was a really useful one for if you wanted to do slalom, just turning in and out of the poles. And it can be useful for canoe polo as well, because obviously you're working those skills. But like I said, it's really good to make the practice relevant to the sport you're doing. So I'm going to do a really simple drill with the polo ball, pretending I'm in a match. And what's really important about this practice is that every time I do it, I'm changing the situation a little bit. So I'm not just going with this, I'm not just throwing the ball behind me, turning, going to that point, and then coming back to the starting point again. I'm throwing it around in different directions, because in polo, you might only want to use sort of a 90-degree turn with this, or you might want to do a full 180, or there's a small chance that as you're halfway through your turn, the ball changes position again, you've got to go even further than 180. So, using the polo ball, keep mixing up the angles.